Hey friends, my name is Oleg. This is one and only Mr. Bond. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we have a pretty cool video for you. It's not necessarily a review, we're gonna do a comparison between Tudor Black Bay 58 and Tudor Black Bay GMT. Again, this is not going to be a review. I did reviews for both of these watches. Those videos can be found on the YouTube channel. I will also leave them linked in the description below. One of the watches belongs to me, the Tudor Black Bay 58. The other watch I borrowed from a local subscriber, Chris. Huge thank you to Chris for lending this watch to me. Give him a shout out in the comment section below if you don't mind. So with all of that out of the way, let's get started with a comparison. On the left is the Tudor Black Bay GMT. On the right is the Tudor Black Bay 58. Other than obvious styling differences, the watches are obviously very different in size. So the Tudor Black Bay GMT has 41mm case diameter, it's 50mm from one lug to another, it has a lug width of 22mm, and it's 14.7mm thick. It's almost 15mm thick. Quite a bit larger and quite a bit thicker as opposed to the Tudor Black Bay 58. So the Tudor Black Bay 58 has a diameter of 39mm, it's 47.5mm from one lug to another, it has a lug width of 20mm, and it's 12mm thick. Here's what Tudor Black Bay GMT looks like on my 7.5 inches or 20 centimeters wrist. I think overall it fits very nicely and it is a comfortable watch, but slightly too thick. I wish it was about 2mm thinner. About 13mm would be perfect for this piece. As it is right now, it is comfortable, but you can notice that thickness. The good thing about this watch is that the lug-to-lug distance is not too long, 50mm, so if you have smaller wrists, it will still fit you comfortably. As opposed to here, Tudor Black Bay 58, another very comfortable watch, in my opinion fits slightly better than GMT because of the thinness. Only 12mm thick, so it slides under cuff of pretty much any shirt. It is also a slightly more comfortable watch, weighing 137 grams as opposed to 177 grams on the Tudor Black Bay GMT. For a bit of a better size comparison, here are both watches on my watch box cushions. I found that this is the best way to showcase the size differences. As you can see, the GMT does appear quite a bit larger. Even though the diameter is only 3mm larger, overall, the proportions of the watch do look much larger. The difference in the thickness of the watches is very apparent in this side-by-side shot. The Tudor Black Bay GMT is also a bit top heavier, so as you can see, it doesn't sit as flushly onto the cushion. Both of them are sized to my size of a wrist, but because of the weight of this watch, the weight of the watch head, it tips over. Again, it's all too dramatic on camera. In person, both watches are great and both watches are very comfortable. But here is the side-by-side size comparison. Speaking of the size differences between the two watches, Tudor Black Bay 58 looks like it's been shrunken with every aspect of it. If you compare the size of the two crowns, both crowns are very large for the size of the watch. However, it is very clear that the Black Bay GMT has a much larger crown than the Tudor Black Bay 58. Also, the bracelet is of course smaller on the Tudor Black Bay 58. It only has a 20mm lug opening, so the bracelet is smaller and it is lighter as opposed to the GMT, 22mm lug width, and the bracelet is larger and more substantial. Both bracelets have these faux rivets. Both bracelets have solid end links and solid links, as well as screw-in-place pins. Both of them have identical clasps in the form of a Tudor shield, and you open it as such. It's a friction-resistant lock with 3 micro adjustments. And it's the same story on the Black Bay 58, just shrunken. So again, exactly the same design on the clasp, just slightly smaller. The same guard, you open it in the same way. The same finishes on the inside. Not the highest quality finishes, if I'm being honest. This polishing could be improved. No diver's extension, no half link, and 3 micro adjustments. Now on the Tudor GMT, you don't really need a diver's extension. I mean, it would be nice. You don't need the easy link. Again, it would be nice, but you don't really need it. On Tudor Black Bay 58, since it's a diver watch, either a half link or a glide lock mechanism or even a diver's extension would be a very welcomed additions, and in my opinion would be even necessary of this grade of a diver watch. The finishes on both watches are pretty much identical. We have a satin finish on top of the lugs and a polished finish on the sides of the case. The case shape is also identical. It's just been shrunken in the Black Bay 58 as opposed to the GMT. Finish execution is excellent. We even have these nice chamferings on the sides of the lugs. Screw down crown signed with the Tudor logo, giving this watch 200 meters of water resistance. Nice and large, no crown guards, very vintage inspired. As opposed to the GMT, once again, excellent finishes on this watch. Satin on top, polished on the sides. Again, the same shape of the case, just slightly larger. Excellent finishes, excellent chamfering. Also a screw down crown with the Tudor rose. 200 meters of water resistance on this GMT as well. The knurling, the grip on the crown are excellent, easy to grip, and again, no crown guards. Another similarity between the two watches are the crystals. Both of them have these domed sapphire crystals, give great distortion angles, enough AR coating underneath, so they're very legible, and both look excellent in my opinion. They fit the aesthetic of this watch really well, that vintage diver aesthetic. Now the bezels are different. So the Tudor Black Bay 58 has a unidirectional 60-click bezel. That's what the bezel action sounds like. Nice confident clicks, no backplay whatsoever. Quite enjoyable. As opposed to the GMT, it has a 60-click bidirectional bezel. Again, confident clicks, no play on this bezel. It's fixed in place really well. The difference is, in my opinion, the Tudor GMT bezel is slightly more difficult to turn. You almost have to kind of press on it, and that's how you turn it. And the grip on the bezel, there's not much on both watches. I think it's more of a problem on the 58 than the GMT, because how often will you be really rotating the GMT style bezel as opposed to the diver style bezel? I think the diver style gets way more usage. Luckily, this one is slightly easier to turn, so that helps with the overall functionality. And one cool thing about this bezel, as you reset it to 0, it kind of wants to stay there. Both watches have stainless steel bezel inserts. Of course, the GMT one has the two-tone, the blue and the red. This blue is darker in person than it appears to be on pictures. When you look at the promo materials for the GMT, the blue on this bezel appears to be lighter. However, in person it is quite a bit darker. In some darker lighting conditions, it almost looks to be black. As opposed to the bezel insert here, again stainless steel bezel insert as well, but now it is black with gilt writing and this nice triangle for the 0 position. Minute increments from 0 to 15 minutes, and then after that it's every 5-minute increments. It has a lume pip at the 0 position, as opposed to the GMT watch does not have a lume pip, and it doesn't really need it because it's not a diver timepiece. Both watches have very similar dials, applied indices for hour marks, open rail track, very similar set of hands, of course that iconic snowflake hour hand. However, there are still a few differences. First of all, the color combination. Of course, Tudor has this kind of gilt black color combination with off-white color on the lume. Gives it an appearance of a faux patina. It's not too bad. It doesn't look too fake. I quite like the color that they chose for their indices, as opposed to the GMT has more of a white color to the indices. It also has a date functionality at the 3 o'clock position. The GMT also has a 4th hand, the GMT hand, and both watches have about the same amount of writing. Tudor, Geneve written by the 12 o'clock position, and some writing by the 6 o'clock position, 3 lines of writing, and Swiss made all the way at the bottom. Both watches have very attractive designs. I am biased towards the Black Bay 58 because that's my personal watch. Of course, I spent money on it, so I clearly prefer it over the GMT. However, the GMT is also very, very attractive. The only thing that I would change is I would increase the size of the indices. In my opinion, they look a little bit undersized on this dial. just a personal preference, and I know that I might be in a minority with my opinion, but I think if they were increased in size, it would look slightly better. Both watches have in-house automatic movements. So the Tudor GMT, of course, has a GMT movement, caliber MT5652 automatic GMT movement, 70 hours of power reserve, beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, excellent movement, very accurate, COSC certified, plus or minus 2 seconds per day, and this one is beating very accurately. As opposed to the Black Bay 58, also has an in-house movement, specially developed for this model, specially developed to fit in this slim case. It has a movement caliber MT5402, also has 70 hours of power reserve. It also is a very accurate movement, COSC certified, plus or minus 2 seconds per day, and mine is beating right on money at 0 seconds. So that's really great. I love both of these watches. I think they're both excellent value propositions. As I stated in my review of the Tudor Black Bay 58, it's currently my favorite diver watch on the market. I like it better than I like the Submariner. Of course, I don't own a Submariner, so I am biased. Take my opinion with a grain of salt. And I did spend a lot of money on my watch, so I better like it. The GMT is also an excellent value proposition. Interestingly, when these watches came out, the GMT was a more popular watch. The Black Bay 58 was kind of overlooked. And now it looks like the tables have kind of turned. The Black Bay is a more desirable watch than the GMT, just based on the resale values and what these watches are going for on the gray market. Out of the two, I prefer the Black Bay 58, but again, I am biased because I did buy the watch. The GMT is an excellent watch. I really, really like it. So that's the comparison between Tudor Black Bay GMT and Tudor Black Bay 58. If you ask me, obviously I'm biased towards one of the watches because I spent my own money on one of the watches, the Tudor Black Bay 58. I think if GMT was in the case of Tudor Black Bay 58, meaning if it was a little bit slimmer and a little bit smaller, I would be buying it in a heartbeat. With the bigger case, it's pretty good. It's not a bad looking watch, and definitely for the price, it's a great buy. I just have this feeling that in the future they will come out with the smaller version, and that's the one that I personally would be interested in purchasing. Another thing that I didn't talk about in this comparison or in the review of Tudor Black Bay GMT are the problems with a date wheel. When these watches just came out, they had the problem with the date wheel. It wasn't changing on time, it wasn't changing properly. Basically, people had a lot of troubles with that. From my understanding, all those problems are fixed now, but it's something that you should be aware of, that some of the movements weren't exactly perfect. I appreciate you watching this video until the end. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss more videos like this one in the future, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know which one out of the two watches do you prefer. By the way, today on my wrist I'm wearing my Omega Seamaster. I did a full review of this watch and I did a video why this watch is the most worn watch in my collection. I will leave links to both of those videos in the description below. Also in the description below there are two other links. The first link is a secret link, have a look if you're curious. The second link is a link to bondnativstraps.com if you're looking for a good quality native strap and want to support this YouTube channel at the same time. Buying one of these native straps is a great way to do so. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you're staying safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Good boy. Yeah, dirty wrinkles. No, it's okay. Sit, thank you. Good boy. You're so sneaky. He wants to just pick the kibble from napkin instead of the ones that I'm feeding him.